Hey, hi, I'm Max, Anjanetta Jones, or some of you know me as Just Ask Max or Max Wisdom. I'm representing Life Coaching today, Life Coaching today, and this is 10 Minutes of Wisdom. Our guest is Jason Matthews, and we have a really cool topic today, and it's about relationships. So let's welcome our guest. Let's give him a round of applause and welcome him on. And let's have him tell us a little bit about him. Yay! Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hey Max, I'm well. How are you?
Very good. Nice to have you today. Thank you for taking
Likewise.
time on this holiday to hang out with us for a little bit. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been working as a coach and a mindset expert for probably about 15 years now.
Mhm.
And what I've been really focusing on lately is I've been helping men understand how they can step into their own natural role as a leader by really being of service to others, because the real nature of leadership is service, and showing how to go beyond the nice guy trap and act as a step into the role of a good man, and demonstrating what that looks like, not only for themselves but also for their peers and those they interact with.
So, let me ask a quick question.
Mhm.
What is the nice guy trap?
So the nice guy trap is, well, when we think about the term nice guy, it's an
Mhm.
oxymoron, because people who exhibit nice guy traits aren't actually nice guys. What they exhibit is something called shade behaviors, which are secretive, hollow, averse, distant, and evasive. And these are behaviors that they will withhold information, thinking that they're actually helping someone when they're doing more harm than good, or they'll be people pleasing when it doesn't serve them or others long term,
Mm.
or they will become um, conflict oriented because they are tired of constantly being passed up, when that actually does more harm to a connection than any kind of good. They'll keep people at a distance, thinking that they're actually sparing people's emotions, when what they're doing is they are eroding trust. So these are the kinds of things that are common in nice guy behavior.
So, let me ask you another question because I have a lot of questions. So, would some of these guys that are considered nice guys or fall into nice guy behavior, do you find a lot of them in the red pill community listening to red pill theology?
So I'm going to redirect that, because not all red pill content is actually harmful. There's some that actually helps to empower men to understand that there are some things going on in society that just don't work, and there needs to be an understanding of what doesn't work versus what is being hostile towards relationships. And I like to consider that part of the incel community, which is involuntarily celibate, or what they would consider to be involuntarily celibate. And this is the kind of behavior that is at the extreme of nice guy syndrome, where people have believed that they have been victimized, or they have been unfairly um, segregated out of relationships, when really they've just done that to themselves. And their own behavior has created the kind of situation they find themselves in.
So, you're just okay. So, let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
One, no judgment, just finding information and understanding. What are some key things in the red pill community that are positive? And I ask this because from what I've heard, because I've never researched the red pill community, so I cannot say 100% that
Mhm.
everything is negative. What I've heard and the shows that I have watched, I've seen some things that are negative. And I'm going to take my time to say this because at some point, I felt like Kevin Samuels was negative. However, It was because of the content that I saw. When
Hmm.
I took the time after Kevin Samuels passed, and I took the time to look at all of his content, it wasn't as narrow as it was portrayed to be. So that's why I'm asking you, what stands out in the red pill community that is positive and that is helpful? And I'm going to cast
Hmm.
aside to everything that I've seen on at whatever and fast and fit and all the stuff that I've seen out there. And I'm going to listen to your words because I know you.
Hmm.
So I'd rather hear from someone I know and then research it than to assume, because some of the red pill theology is whacked. So
Absolutely.
tell me the positive parts.
So one of the most positive things is the recognition of the fact that men can be abused as women can.
Yes.
There's this understanding that yes, men are naturally more aggressive than women are. In fact, there's a 70% chance that men are much more aggressive than women are. And that's because of testosterone. Men are naturally more aggressive, more outgoing, more risk oriented than women are by nature. And this actually is a good thing, except for when it's taken badly. So you might look at the statistics that 37% of uh, um, relationships that that are abusive are perpetrated by men. But what you don't hear is that 34% of relationships that are abusive are also perpetrated by women. And so it's important to be able to recognize that. There's also the understanding that men have to have their rights, and we're seeing an erosion of men's rights in relationships, especially in the court systems, and the desire to really cast a light on the fact that there is a narrative going on that is eroding the natural nobility that both men and women have, and that there is a push towards women having more rights than men, that in a relationship men have a lot more risk to take than women do, because if a relationship ends, they lose half their shit, they lose connection with their I'm sorry, I'll keep the the language to a minimum. I apologize.
I just want to unravel this before you go deep into this.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at, so we're talking about marriage and the separation thereof, because that's the only way that the court system gets involved.
Hmm.
Okay, actually, it's not the court system. You have to go to a mediator first. So you both can get lawyers, or you can sit down to go to a mediator.
Hmm.
But the laws for divorce, those laws were made by men for years. Now, there have been changes because we have women in the system now, but for years, the divorce laws have been made by men, and they were put together by men because men were leaving their wives because they fell in love with someone else. And that's okay, but you can't leave that person. Now, to say that men or women are leaving men and taking their money, a large percentage of men don't have any money. And these are facts.
Hmm.
So a lot of women are not getting paid spousal support, spousal support, but they are being paid child support. So that's the clarity that we need here.
Right.
And you and your wife, everything that you have with your wife, most people, we're not talking about the percentage of people that we are that are multimillionaires, because there aren't a lot of men in that category. We're talking about anyone, let's say, just say from zero to 100,000, zero to $300,000 a year. Okay. If you are divorcing your husband and you are from zero to 300,000, in this system that we're in today, you both can get lawyers if you can afford it, but you will go to a mediator first.
Hmm.
Now, in this system of law, the court's job is to make things even. And
Right.
this is something I do all day long. It is to make things even between the husband and wife. Okay.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say this also. Women in this day and age have been initiating divorce more than anything. And it does say
Yes.
irreconcilable differences. Okay. So stop me when I get to a point where you don't agree. So it does say that. A lot of women, if we want to put a term to that, a lot of women are divorcing for a lot of reasons. Okay. And cheating is not always the reason. I'm going to say that to everyone. Cheating is not always the reason that women are leaving men. It is not. And vice versa. But divorces are being dissolved or are occurring because sometimes women feel like they are in the marriage alone. So they have single married women. They feel like they're taking care of the children all on their own. Those are
Hmm.
major complaints. I'm not saying that men are doing this because I can't say that. I'm not married, but I can say that the people I counsel, it does occur. And the husband does agree that he felt like it's the wife's job to cook. It's the wife's job to take care of the kids and a wife's job to clean and all that other stuff. And that may be the case if the wife is not working. But if the
Hmm.
wife is working as the husband is working, it should be 50-50. And that's how I counsel. But when they come to me, they're already at this point of separating. So the goal that the judge gives me and other mediators is to split it so that everyone's even. Now,
Hmm.
for all the men who are out there saying that the women take the children, they do this, they do that, you have a right to see your children, and you can take your ex wife to court to see your children or whatever you need to do. And they are made to honor that, okay? Because they
In
go,
most cases, yes. This is something I'm going to interject because there are actually a lot of reports where the courts are siding with women, um, whether it is in the best interest of the children or not, for the women to be the primary caregiver of the family rather than either be um, and having the father have a visitation rights rather than a 50-50 custody split. This is
so
happening 70% of the time over court cases when looking at the custodial battles.
so let me just say this to you because I just went through this with a client. You must go to court and ask for 50-50,
Hmm.
okay? And when you're asking for 50-50, you don't pay child support and she doesn't pay child support. There's no child support with 50-50 splits as far as the law is concerned. Unless you say this is 50-50, but I want to pay this. 50-50 splits, there's no child support because
Right.
you have them 50% of the time and they have them 50% of the time. So the law is not siding with the women. Women sometimes have a little bit more information than men, and that's unfortunate. No woman should keep a child away from the father because there are good fathers out there. And no
Correct.
parent should keep the child away from each other unless those parents are toxic. So, for all you dudes out there that think that women want to take your money, please go to court and ask for 50-50 custody and make sure that you are able to make sure those kids go to school and do all the stuff that she's doing because 50% of that will be on you, the dropping off, the picking up, and all that stuff. And that is
Hmm.
why we have a big problem out here with dating because we have bad information.
Right.
50, no child support. So nobody's taking your money. Now, when you and your wife work for a house together, a lot of people can't go move somewhere else. So the house has to be sold. But
Hmm.
sometimes dudes are like, you keep the house. Sometimes women say, you keep the house. A lot of this is bad information about men losing all their stuff because 98% of the time, it's not all your stuff because a lot of men cannot afford to buy and pay all the bills and do everything themselves.
True, true. So the point that I'm making is that there's more awareness to these things that are being brought to the fore. This is becoming conversations, and these are things that have to be discussed. And I think that is what's good about it. The extreme comes when you have people who allow emotions to get involved over reason,
Yes,
and there is no the conversations halt because there's you can't argue with feelings,
right.
but you can argue with reason, and that's where solutions come in. When you allow yourself to be hijacked by feelings, there's nowhere to go from there,
That's
and
correct.
that's the unfortunate truth. And I think that there is, on both sides, there are a lot of emotional reactions that are happening, where the conversations are breaking down, and there's no ability to really move forward.
So I'm glad you said that because I'm going to say this, and you guys can go look. I made a post that says, I'm interested in understanding why men feel the need to shape women. And a lot of people said it's the same reason why women want to shape men. That's not what we're talking about. You know, what Jason just said is true. When you say things like that, you don't give a chance to have a conversation about the topic at hand. You have to be mature enough to say, okay, this happens on both sides, but let's deal with it here first. And as we start here, let's open up a foundation. As Jason said in the beginning, he said that men are losing their rights and their autonomy also. So I never start off with about women because then how will a man be able to say, this is my situation, this is where I am? When we say, oh, women do it too, yes, they do. But now I want to hear the voices of men. So out of that whole post, Jason was like, hey, let's talk about this. Because if we get into a tug of war about who does it, who doesn't do it, and everybody, we're not able to be where Jason and I are today, shedding some light on things that people believe, and some of it isn't true. Like even the red pill community, like Jason said, there are some things that are positive, there are some things that are toxic. But unless we can talk about it, we can't talk about the positive or the toxic things because we get stuck. So it's always good to listen to that one voice in the crowd that doesn't say something like, oh, you did it too. How old are we? Two? No, let's talk about it.
Right.
That's what you want. So, guys, if you're looking for a coach, a male coach, go somewhere with someone who's not constantly putting blame, someone that says, well, let's talk about it. Let's open this up and let's look at it. So if you're looking for a coach and you are having problems in your relationships, or you're in that place of being enforced celibacy, because I know a lot of men are, because they talk about it all the time, how from the ages of 21 to 30, men are not meeting women and dating and having sex with them as they usually would. So there is something going on. Would you agree or disagree, Jason?
I would totally agree with that. And there's something that is being missed, which is tragic, because men have a gift of being able to connect with people in a very specific way. And if men are not being taught how to do that, there's a huge part of a relationship that is being missed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only when both men and women are able to work in their greatest strengths can you actually have a relationship that does work. Can you have social activities that come about in the best possible light? That the best outcomes can come from interactions. And interactions are the name of the game because we are social animals. And the more that we lean into that, the better we feel about ourselves and the more good we can do for others.
That is true. That is true. That is true. So let's talk about relationships.
Mhm.
So I'm curious as to, well, what I heard was that men are interested in women from 18 to 24. True or false?
To a point. I think that there are more men that are men are always going to be looking at younger women because they're younger. They have a natural biological ability that older women don't. That's a fact. And especially
What's,
men.
what is
Say
that?
again.
Tell me what that biological ability is. That,
Making babies after
oh,
the age of 35. Your ability to procreate goes down considerably.
right.
So
In this day and age, are men looking for, I mean, 19 to 24-year-old women, a lot of them are not looking to have babies. A lot of them are looking to have a career so they can take care of themselves. So 19 to 24, I believe that you can have babies as long as you have a period. You may not be able to create as many babies. I don't know the actual fact on that, but as long as you have a period, you can get pregnant. And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with men having a preference of dating women from 19 to 24.
Mhm.
However, women from 19 to 24 are sexually harassed more than anyone.
True.
Okay, so there's
Yep.
that. So, one, they're not looking to have babies. A lot of them are not. And a lot of them don't want to be sexually harassed. And it's good that a lot of men see that they're at their prime. That's okay too. They're at their prime. However, at 19 to 24, they don't know who they are yet.
True.
Okay. And they haven't had a lot of relationship experience. So they don't know where they are. So could it be that a lot of men like women in that age because they want to shape or groom them or teach them? Is any of that true?
I would say that there's a percentage of men that do act that way. Whether it's a lot of men, I have no idea. But from what I do know, the men that prefer those kinds of women, they're looking for something safe because in their experience, relationships have not been kind to them. And so they want something that's considered like a clean slate, where they can actually have. It's a desire for control. It's a desire to control how the relationship is going to form. And control is one of those things it's a misnomer because it's an illusion. You actually don't have any kind of control, but it's the perception of control that they're looking for. And so when you have men who are, this happens more for men, from what I understand, men who are under 30. So between 20 to 30 year olds are especially going to be likely to be actively looking for younger women between the ages of 19 to 24 because they are more likely to be groomed. Men who are older, at least the men that I know, they're looking for something that's much more mature. They're looking for something that's more serious. They will never get from a younger person because, like you said, they don't know themselves.
Now, can
So
I ask
it's
a question?
it. One second. It's it's important to understand that yeah, while there are men that are looking for those younger women, it's because they're looking for something they perceive as being safer than the women that are more their age group because they are looking for something that is going to be more controllable, malleable, and go in what they perceive should be their idea of a relationship. Whether it works out like that way or not is a completely different conversation. But this is what's happened. This is the belief that they keep in their mind.
So I have a question, and
Mhm.
then I'm going to show you a video if we've loaded it so you can give us your expert advice on that video. So let me ask you a question. Um, you said men under 30. For men over 30, like from 30 to 50, if they're seeking out young ladies from 19 to 24 to shape them, is that a good or a bad thing in your expert opinion?
That um, I find it dangerous to put a value of good or bad because it really depends on is the woman willing to go along with that? Are they are they accepting of it? If a man is going after women, that sounds predatory. And if they are just if they're going after women because of their naivete, um, I consider this to be more questionable because they are older and there's obviously an emotional immaturity that is going on, and the likelihood of seeking control is much higher.
So let me check with for Europa and see if we have the video. And if she gives me the thumb up, we can roll the video to get your expert advice on that particular video. But before we get to her giving us the thumbs up, I just want to ask this. Um, have you seen the show Whatever at
I
Whatever?
have. Yep.
What are your thoughts on that show?
I think there are a lot of good questions. I think that there's a lot of clickbait. They ask specific people onto the show in order to have specific conversations for specific reactions, and you won't see your average person, your average female going on that show because it doesn't make for good conversation. It doesn't make for good a good podcast. There's no real sizzle there, for lack of a better word. So um, these are conversations that are had with specific people that have a specific mindset, um, albeit a rather limited one. That it's going to who knows, it's going to create some kind of controversy. It's built on creating controversy. At the same time, the people that they have on the show, there are a lot of really good discussions that are had and a lot of good points that are made. But does it apply to the average person is the question that I have.
Do you believe that body count matters?
That's
Jason,
again a loaded question
you know
because
me.
it depends.
You
It,
know me. Do you believe? And you don't have to answer it today. And I'm going to say this to you. You don't have to answer it today because what Jason doesn't know is that I am building a panel of gentlemen where I'm going to throw Jason under the bus and have them ask them questions at some point. So you don't have to answer today, but today will not be the last day that you guys see Jason. So
sweet.
you don't have to answer it today. But my question is, does body count matter? And is it a reason that men can go around building up their body count and shaming women that want to have sex? Because I feel like if they're consenting adults, okay, that's one thing. But does body count matter?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. And I think it matters for both men and women.
Okay.
And I think that if a woman has a high body count, it's because she's been with men, and that means men also have a high body count. If they have a body count, it's because they've been with women. So it's like what the hell? You can't have that double standard of it matters for one but not the other. It matters for both. I am very suspicious of both men and women that have a high body count because it tells me they are not willing to commit to relationships. They have a very shallow sense of themselves, their own self worth as well as the worth of others, and they are more adventurous than they are willing to actually settle down. And so for me, that's for both men and women. For me, it's a red flag for both because there's no sense of stability there, and stability is what creates good relationships.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's give a round of applause. Good answer. Yay! That's what applause. Jason, we're going to run the video and then we're going to get your response from the video and then we're going to close out. But can I just say, it has been absolutely awesome chatting with you today. Uh,
Likewise, thank you.
so let's run the video for Jason and let's get his input. Why does she need to be in pressure? I've never seen
take advantage of her? Why does she need to be impressionable? If a woman wants to respect you and give you the respect to lead and be her partner, why do you need to have that level of power over her if you're not trying to manipulate someone?
See, it's not power, it's impressionable. I've never seen a successful partnership where the other person wouldn't allow themselves to be impressed upon. If I'm a person and I got a vision, I got a plan, I got a whole program, I would think that the person that wants to be with me is willing to learn and willing to adopt some of the ways or even some of the principles that I have.
That's not impressionable. Impressionable is basically getting someone to do what you want them to do because they're easily swayed and easily persuaded to do what you want them to do.
Who said that? Did you make that up?
Well, I
like when you hire somebody, you look for somebody that's impressionable. But why would I listen?
Right, so you even train them. So you can, when you hire somebody, you're about to train them.
Now,
and that's why you want them impressionable.
If
the person is already
connected, if we're principally connected, there's nothing wrong with that person wanting to do things.
No, but I mean, that's what you said. You want them to be impressionable. This whole the men aren't out there, so this is why women have to focus on career. We're not dumb, incompetent, stupid idiots that are waiting around right after we get out of our home to be taken care of by a man. A lot of men that can't even take care of themselves, right? But even if you do, that man might die. Then what?
I do think it's okay to have your preferences. The one thing that I have kind of an issue with is, yes, you have a program and you want a woman to get on board, but you're asking a woman to get on board with a program that you have no intent on keeping her on board.
That's the problem.
And that's the problem that I have. So now you may say, well, she knows what it is, but maybe she doesn't. You know why? Because she is younger and
doesn't have experience.
Whereas an older woman may be like, oh, I know what this is.
I can
recognize this. I'm okay for being on it for just a little ride.
Absolutely.
So I think that's my thing. And then you look at a lot of women got on board with these men, and they got kicked off the board.
Yeah.
With children and baggage, and then now goes back into this dating world, and men like you don't want them. So what I'm saying is, if you don't want those women, why are you helping to create them?
Ooh.
This is the thing.
Woman that doesn't have 10 years of niggas experience.
Can you
So
also
you
learn
how to go left and right?
Can you also learn the mentor?
So are you trying to be a mentor or are you trying to be a
So
nigga?
is it fair to say that a younger woman can also have the same level of discernment as an older woman?
No.
She doesn't have to go through all of these niggas to learn.
She either has to have a dad to teach her, a mentor, or
What you just said is a younger woman doesn't have to have relationship experience to have relationship experience.
That they have no father figure.
Because you said, no, I didn't say anything about father experience, but you said, I want somebody that doesn't have experience. That's exactly what you said.
That's negative experience.
10 years of niggas is what you said. So whether those 10 years of niggas were negative or positive, she had 10 years of
of men
niggas.
that didn't work out.
In fairness,
not one time that you.
So, what are your thoughts?
Well, it devolved pretty quickly. There were some good points that were made. One thing that I want to clear up is that not all leadership is manipulative. In fact, the best leadership is inspiring. The purpose of leading is to inspire. If it's used to manipulate, that's not leadership. That's manipulation.
Yeah.
And leadership in itself is meant to inspire. Yes, men are more prone to leadership than women are. They are born to it. Women can come to it, but men are born to lead. That being said, if a man has a vision that he wants in a relationship, it's his duty to not only convey that, but also co-create it with his partner. It's not just one thing that you say, you're going to follow me for what I want to do. No, you have to co-create it with your partner. It's something it's a vision that you both get on board with and that you both co-create. Which means that it's also going to change a little bit, because the vision that one person has may actually end up morphing because you have more than one person that's helping to co-create it. But a co-created vision is much more successful than getting someone on board to what your plan is.
Now, I do have a question. You said that men were born to lead and women move towards that. Where does that come from? Help me understand that.
So there is a big biological difference and behavioral difference between men and women. Men are more likely to be more reasonable, more factual, more able to use logic rather than emotion, whereas women are much more emotional, nurturing, and compassionate by nature, which also makes them more suggestible.
So,
This is just
so
this is just a fact.
ask a question because that I have read that, but in this day and age, it's not the case for most women of all cultures. A lot of men, maybe I guess masculine energy says that men lead, but each person has masculine and feminine energy within them. Right now, in this day and age of 2024, you have a lot of women that were born to lead, and those are the women that men are saying you're too masculine. And that's a big to do right now with men calling women masculine because they have the
Yes,
ability to lead and the ability to work. And they say that they're not feminine because they don't fall into those qualities, you know. But even nurturing, if you lived in a different country, if you lived in Sweden or something like that, the men are nurturing just as the women are nurturing. I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He said, "Oh, men from Sweden are too feminine." That's not really true. They have to nurture their children just like the moms have to nurture their children, and they have to work.
it's a different kind of nurturing, though. It's supposed to be a different kind of nurturing.
So
And
tell me,
if it's the same, there's a problem there because there's something that is missing.
so tell me
This
this.
is this is the inherent difference between men and women, which is why they complement each other so well. There has to be this difference. There has to be a different way in which they nurture because there has to be two different types of energy that they get. Yes, both men and women have the potential for masculine and feminine energy. Men have much more of the masculine energy, and the feminine energy gets drawn out from them because of a feminine woman who they connect with, and they create trust, and they believe that this relationship is going to be the best thing for them, so they allow that feminine energy to come out because they trust that it's going to benefit the relationship, but they will always be much more masculine, much more direction oriented than women will. Same thing with women. Women have the capacity for being direction oriented, but that is drawn out in a healthy way with the masculine influence. This is why it's really good for men to be able to, in a boy's adolescent years, be the direct influence for those boys to be from then until manhood, and to demonstrate to women what makes a good man, because this is how women are able to understand what a good partner is, and men to understand what it means to be a good partner for the women. Because when it comes down to it, when it comes down to children, especially rearing children, it's not just a woman's job to nurture them. It's a woman's job to nurture them, yes, but it's also the man's job to support the woman for that nurturing, to be that an influence where a woman can give her nurturing influence without feeling like there's anything missing, without the need of also being a a direct influence in the workplace. If she wants to be, fine, but that can also take away from her ability to do what needs to be done as a mother, because the mothers are the primary teachers of children and the disseminators of culture. That has always been the case, and that won't change.
It is changing, though. It is changing.
And if it's changing for the detriment of humanity.
I mean, it is changing where women aren't wanting to have children. It is changing where women
That's a
are having
problem.
children. I mean, look at the 4B movement. You know, that's a big thing. It has practically there's no kindergarten and first grade in certain countries because of the 4B movement. And let's look at it this way. Initially, when we were speaking about men feeling like women are taking their money, their homes, and their children. But if a woman is home with the children and then she decides that she no longer wants to be married, how will she support herself?
So then the question becomes, why does she no longer want to be married? Well, what is happening in that relationship that
So,
is causing her to say, I no longer want to be a part of this?
so a lot of women are married are saying that they feel alone in those relationships. There aren't a lot of relationships where the man can pay all the bills. And there are a lot of relationships where men are saying they don't want to pay all the bills, they want to pay 50-50. So, along with that paying 50-50, the woman is still left with those old traditional values of cooking and cleaning and nurturing alone because, as you said, women are more prone to do that. So now women have to go in the workplace and earn a living and cook, clean, have the children, and nurture the children. Whereas the husband will say, well, I mow the lawn, I shovel the snow, and I go to work. So somewhere in there, there's an imbalance.
Hmm.
So if a woman is home with the children and she no longer wants to do that because she feels like it's not fair labor, then she wants a divorce. And the man is saying, you're taking all my stuff, not our stuff, my stuff, because I
Right.
went to work and you stayed at home. And
And
that
this requires a level of communication that is not being had between the couples.
and that is
This requires a level of transparency that is not being had, and that's the real issue. The real issue is a lack of transparency, a lack of communication, a lack of trust.
and
And
that's but then again, that is why you have a lot of women in the workforce. You have a lot of women who aren't having children. You have a lot of women who aren't getting married. And I don't, sometimes these things come up on us and we don't see them coming. But right now, in the United States and all around the world, women want equal rights. They want equal pay. They want the same pay that you get for what you're doing. They want if they're doing the same thing, they want it to be equal. And a lot of men still feel like they need to make more money than the woman, whether it's an ego thing or a man thing. I don't know, but all women aren't going to be married, and all women aren't going to be in relationships, and there are going to be a lot of women who do not wish to have children. And the women from 18 to 24 who are in their prime, as you said, a lot of them don't want to get married and start having babies for men because they're afraid that the same thing that happened to their ancestors or the things that are going on now is going to happen to them. There are women who will want to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
true.
but
And
right,
this is where it becomes the responsibility of someone to change that pattern. And this is not something that it just happens by accident. This is not something that happens just as a spontaneous thing. These are patterns that have been created by people and so have to be rectified by people.
you're right. But that is why I am against red pill, a lot of the red pill theology for that reason. And I'm against hookup culture. I'm against
Yep.
side chicks and all those things because they're not going away and they're just creating a bigger and bigger hole in the world. So I'm glad that you took the time out for us to open the door for these things. Guys, if you're looking for a relationship coach, if you are in forced celibacy situations, or if you want to find a better way to date or have someone help you open that door to dating, please reach out to Jason. In a couple of days, I will make sure you have Jason's bio and a link so that you can find him. You can find his video on TikTok and all other social media platforms. But for today, we're going to give a word of gratitude. I'm very grateful for Jason for joining me and having this conversation, and we're going to expand on it. Jason, can I have a word of gratitude before Yoruba ends the show today?
Sure. I'm grateful to be in a position where I can help people, where I can provide a bit of wisdom and insight to those who are lacking it, and those who are looking for it.
So thank you guys for joining us today. Yoruba, thank you for being with us also for 10 Minutes of Wisdom with Max and Janetta Jones, brought to you by Life Coaching Today. Have a great day, everyone.